Okay, hello everybody, and hello Tammy. I'm so grateful to you for not only being here today, but for writing this incredible book, which is so much more than what you would think just from the title, Text Messages to My Sons. It's it's much bigger than that. Tell me, or tell the listeners, because I already know the story, but tell everybody how you came to be sending messages to your sons in the first place before this even became a book.
Well, what happened was, Tracy, and thank you so much for having me and for welcoming me. And that was a really great introduction. I appreciate it. Um, well, it's a story that started at the beginning of the pandemic. We were all locked down, and of course, when you have a lockdown and you're faced with a situation that nobody's really dealt with in the past, it's global. It's a big one. The
Yeah.
whole country's affected. I was like, okay, so what do I do now? And I decided to work on my own personal growth and development because I recognized that I had a lot of issues and things that I had never dealt with, and I wasn't overly happy, and I wanted to explore and learn more. So as I was getting into the coaching, learning, hiring coaches, and doing mindset work and masterminds and courses and programs, and you
I
have no
hear you.
idea.
I
I
hear
was
you.
I was like immersed,
Yeah.
like from Tony Robbins to Mind Valley to Life Book to anything you could think of. Joe Dispenza, I was like in it. Robin Sharma, and I was learning so much, and I was like, this is really interesting. So my first thought was, wow, I'd really love to share this with my sons because I'm learning all these things, and I think I would love for them to know what I'm learning too, but also because I think it's important. And what happened was,
So how old are they at this point, your sons?
now they're 30, 28, and 23, but everybody's birthday's coming up. So they're about to be 31, 29, and 24 within the next like 2, 3 months. So what happened was I was just thinking, I really want to share this. So I decided to start texting to share because I realized that if I wanted to have a conversation, the way I want to have it is not happening. Nobody's talking in person.
Yeah.
Kids don't want to talk in person, but they are on their phones. Everybody's carrying a phone in their hand or in their pocket or in their book, their purse,
Yep.
or in their bag, wherever they have it. So I was like, okay, I want them to look at it. I want them to read it. And while I was doing this, I started realizing that, this is a really great opportunity for me to change the entire conversation with my kids, the entire relationship with my kids, because in the past, every text I ever sent them was either a reminder, a reprimand, or a command. The famous parent, where are you? What are you doing? What did you forget? What do you want? What do you mean you need money?
Yeah.
Money, what do you want? Like, I'm busy. Like, it was always kind of those kind of texts. And I realized I don't want to do that anymore. I wanted to have like very meaningful and connect with them on a different level. So I started doing it really in beginning of 2021 after I've spent some time in 2020 like immersing myself, and it just blossomed from there. I just started doing it. It's funny because while I was doing it, I was sharing with colleagues and friends, oh, this is what I do with my kids. And they were like, that's amazing. That's crazy. You should put it in a book. I mean, we could all learn from that. And I was just like, a book? Tracy, I just was texting my kids. I never envisioned a book or envisioned even thinking about writing a book, but that's what happened. And text messages to my sons, connecting deeply in a world of devices, has 2 years of first 2 years of text that I did with my kids. Of course, I haven't stopped, so I have more material. But yeah, it was so impactful for them that they wrote the foreword to the book.
Nice. Nice. So tell everybody how did they respond? What did they think about this?
Well, it's funny. Initially, I went into this not expecting them to respond, with no expectations, because I wanted to do this for them. I wanted to reach out to them. I wanted to connect to them. I wanted to change conversations. So I had no expectations. But they wind up responding. There's always, they send back, I love you, great message, hearts. They let me know, when they come for dinner Friday. Every Friday they try to come for dinner. We get together and meet in person. They let me know that they really enjoy the texts, although they're way too long. According to my kids, they're too long. But I don't never knew how to do anything short. So yeah, my texts are a little long. But they appreciate it. They love it. They tell me it makes them feel bulletproof. That when you know somebody loves you, somebody that you want that from. You know, people think, oh, my kids, they prefer their friends. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to this with me. They don't like me. They fight with me. I fight with them. At the end of the day, you're still the most important person, that your kid wants to know that their parent loves them, that their parent thinks they're amazing, thinks they're extraordinary, thinks they're worthy, thinks they're important. At the end of the day, I don't know one kid who isn't looking for that. And if they make it like they're not, they are.
Right, exactly.
You're always searching for your parents' love and your parents' recognition over
Absolutely.
anything else. And I think, well, for my kids, like getting that steady message, and this isn't something you do, it's not a one-off. It's not like I do it here and there and I'm like, love you, you know, with the emojis. It's everyday message that I think about, I write. It doesn't take long, but it's something that I've committed to Monday through Friday. And my kids say when they get that message, it's really makes them bulletproof, because they know that somebody not only loves them, their mother, like they're so loved and they're considered so worthy, that that energy makes them bulletproof. That, you know, whatever the day brings them, they have that foundation because they know somebody cares enough to do it. And, you know, I say to parents, do this, but you could do it with anybody. You could do it with any loved one. You could do it with somebody who needs your help, like somebody who, you know, is having a hard time because they're disconnected. I had the fortune of speaking with Kim Mensch, who's a parenting coach, and she was explaining to me that her whole clientele base is parents of 18 to 30-year-olds. These are grown-ups, but these parents that need help, their children are very disconnected. There's addiction problems, there's depression problems, there's suicide because of the disconnection. And 40% of kids are saying that they feel disconnected from their parents. I mean, so it's like you could really make this work with anybody. You don't have to have a child, you know, to do it.
And I just want to say that even though these text messages that you've written in your book are directed at adult children, so they're you know, it's a conversation, let's say, between adult people. This concept can be applied at absolutely any age. And obviously my, you know, my Undeletable Dad audience and the Essential Stepmom audience, we're talking about kids who are not in contact with their dad. The dad would be my client, right? They are not with him all the time.
Right.
And in some cases, we're talking about dads who actually don't have any access to their kids. And they are looking for some little way to like chisel a tiny hole in the fortress that has been built around these kids to keep the dad away. And I mean, I've been talking for years about the importance of writing these kind of messages. And typically my advice looks different than what you've done, only because you have kids who are, there is no limit to their ability to connect with you. They may be disconnected because of the social pressures and time of life and the way the world is going and all of that. But there is not an actual impediment, a legal impediment, or a space and time situation that, you know, keeps them away. But what you just said about how every kid wants this from their parent, my clients are guys who hear from their kids, Dad, I don't want to hear from you. Stop messaging me. Like, go away. And I mean, there's whole complicated reasons for that we don't have to get into now. But the truth of it is that they want you to keep trying, right? They don't want to feel like they can push you over in 1 second by saying, go away. Like, what kind of strong dad are you if I can blow on you and you crumble, right? Like, they want you to keep at it no matter what they say. There was a amazing YMCA sponsored a study. I mean, it's a long time ago now, maybe 20 years ago, but kids have not changed that much. Even 20 years ago, when the kids could answer anonymously so that their name wasn't attached to it, when they were asked the question, what did they most want? Like, what did they want more of in life? What they wanted more of overwhelmingly was more time with their parents, which goes so against what you would think. They
Everything.
would want more independence. They want to have a job. They want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They want to be left alone in peace to do their thing, right? Um, what they wanted more of was more time with their parents. That is what is deepest in their heart, no matter what they're showing. So your book gives so much practical, not just practical advice, but it's like I was just telling you before we went on, it is a whole life training in itself. Like every page of it, because you were in this phase of learning and you wanted to share it, it's full of quotes from, the greatest motivational speakers and philosophers and thinkers of all time. Like every page is so inspiring. I loved reading it.
Wow. Thank you. And I was really like listening to everything that you say because there's so much in there. First of all, I think any parent can start the minute your kid has a phone. So usually, what is it now? Middle school? I'm hoping it's middle school because
Yeah.
of lower school kids.
Sadly, it is
Yeah.
overwhelmingly elementary school now, but middle school for sure.
And you could start, when we were growing up, I mean, I would always be envious of the kid who got the message in the lunchbox.
In the lunchbox, right?
And that beautiful little, like, I love you, enjoy your lunch. I never had that. My mother didn't make lunch. But at the end of the day, I was always like, that's so nice. So this is kind of that. You just tailor it to their age. Regarding dads, it's very interesting because I've done some interviews, that with podcast hosts who tell me that the dads, and I've had dads reach out to me directly on social media that they're doing this with their kids that they started, and a lot of them are like, "Wow, I really want to do this. I love my children. I don't know how to talk to them," and I'm like, "There's a book with 200 pages of messages. You can copy and paste them all. It's fine, or you tweak them. After a while, it becomes heartfelt. But what I want the dads to understand is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not, their response does not matter one bit. That's not what this is about. This is about you changing the conversation with your kids, you letting them know how extraordinary they are. Not reprimanding them, not telling them your side of the story, not trying to do any of that. You stay away from all that, and you just share that. What did a great visionary say? That's so third party. It's not personal. It's not attacking. It's not defending. It's not doing anything. But you start everyone and you end everyone with how much you love them, how extraordinary they are, and how much you care.
Yep.
There isn't a kid who isn't going to read that. They might respond because they've been a little programmed too, and that happens. Listen, my parents divorced. I can tell you all day long what went on, and it was nasty all the time. And I wish I could go back in time and change some of my behaviors to that. But I was also in the middle of it, and I was a young age. But I'm telling you right now, dads, don't give up. Just message them because they have a phone. And especially if you have no contact, that's the only contact you're going to have. In the old days, we wrote letters, but you know what? Those letters can get intercepted, but the phone isn't going to get so intercepted.
Well, the phone does get intercepted. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there is a way to get around the, how can I say, the interception can be around the content of the messages. But
I mean, I don't think there's a judge alive that's going to look at one of these messages and say, this is inappropriate.
Right.
Sorry.
Of course.
It's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately, the judge that we're talking about in the case of my clients who are dads that are being kept away from their kids, the judge is the mom who the judgment comes down in the form of withholding love from the kids when she sees that they are interacting with the dad when they know that that's forbidden. But what I tell people is that you can do this, like what you did, Tammy. You can start this with a single emoji. You can text back and forth with a single emoji. It can be a whole conversation that is funny, that is lighthearted, but the message behind it is, I'm here. I'm not going away. I love you. I see you, right? You just drop an emoji or a series of emojis. You find a funny meme, which the internet is full of them, a funny cartoon, whatever. You are just saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I'm not going away. I'm connected with you through this phone.
Right.
I'm here. I'm in your pocket. I'm with you always. That is the message. And then as you, from it goes all the way from there to all the way to what you did, which is having real philosophical conversations, and not just not conversations in the sense that these are conversations with my sons and here's what they said back,
Right.
but if you are, it's a very, it's in, well, okay, I love what you did, but it is actually a very fatherly activity of transmitting your important values to your child. Generally speaking, what the mom does is say, I love you, sweetie. I love you. You're so perfect. Oi, I love you. It's a lot of sort of spiritual cheek pinching in the messages of, or like, don't forget to brush your teeth, right? Like the mothering stuff. And the activity of fatherhood is often about taking your children into adulthood through the transmission of your important values, which, like, this is what you're doing. You are sharing with them what you're learning, what's important to you, your outlook on the world, the way you look at life, your whole worldview and mindset, and how to grow to be a better person, how to be the most successful version of yourself. Like, those are incredibly potent messages, not just the words of it, but the action of it is powerful. It's how again, a lot of my dads feel like the clock is ticking, the kids are turning 18, and now, I can't influence them anymore because they're, now they're adults. It's not true. Like you said, there are people seeking parenting coaches who have kids that are 30 years old.
Yeah.
You
Never
can,
too
of
late.
course, it is never too late. This is an activity that goes on all your life. You will always be the dad. And you want to be the guy who they are coming to for this depth of life advice and wisdom. So
Absolutely. It's not easy, it's not easy even when the situation's great and parents are and everything's wonderful. The parents have a great relationship, you raise your kids, because we also understand that the phones themselves are also, doing a whole number on our kids with social media and misinformation, indoctrination, mind control, violence, hate, what's going on now, and what they're sharing and what they're exposed to. It's limitless. I mean, one of the things I wanted to do is like create a movement of parents who are just like, you know what? I know until we can get all this, so literally we can get social media outlawed, as far as I'm concerned, we can make a difference. We can impact one person at a time if we all get on board and we say these are our kids and we are going to override this. Because I personally believe when you're sending love, gratitude, these kind of messages, the energy frequency of love and gratitude vibrates way higher.
exactly.
Very high. It's the highest frequency vibrations. And then you have hate, which is out there, and violence and all of this other stuff, which is very low energy. So when you send that out, you're releasing it. And when your kid is reading that message, no matter what their state of mind is, there is some kind of energy release of getting a beautiful message from somebody telling you I love you, you matter. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, and I'm here, I'm not giving up on you. You matter to me. So think about that energy release and of you sending and them receiving.
Right.
Well, that's the only way we're gonna get around this stuff, because right now, when I see what's going on, it's just disgusting between the distractions they're facing, the focus that they're losing, the messages that they're getting, even under the best of circumstances. It's surrounding everybody. So we got to do what we have to do, and there's no reason we can't. Listen, messaging your kids, text messaging, you have a phone, it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to go take a course to learn how to do it. It's not like you have to spend thousands on a coach. It's not like you have to do anything, but you have your phone. You have 10 minutes, start. You have a book that's very affordable that you can like take as many messages as you want. And you know what's going to happen? I promise you, because it's what happened to me. Everything starts becoming heart-centered. You'll start looking around you and you'll notice something beautiful, a tree, and you'll want to tell your kid about the tree. You know, you'll want to tell them, you feel something, you have something to tell them. It just comes out of your heart. It does become heart-centered. And then if there's a day that I'm seeing the days ticking by and I haven't got my message yet, it affects my energy. It affects my day. I feel it. I need to message my kids. This is important. So we can do it. It's just time. It's just saying, like James Clear, Atomic Habits, like you have to make a habit of doing it. Like you have a routine, you put that 10 minutes in your routine, sending a message of love and gratitude to your kids and whatever else you want to put in it, and send it. You're done.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question because it might say this clearly in the book and I missed it, but do you send a different message to each of your sons, or do they get the same one from you?
No, they each get their own. I don't make a message per kid but it's basically the same message, but I don't do it as a group. Okay. I do each one separately. So they're getting their message directly to them on their phone. Sometimes I'll tweak a little bit. Like if something, I might have a sentence or two in one that really doesn't apply to the other one. It's something more specific, especially if one was away on a trip, and I'll ask about the trip, something to that. But basically, it's the same message, but I don't send it as a group message. I send it on their own message.
Okay. So I have 10 takeaway topics here that I want to share, and you can speak really quickly to each one.
Okay.
And these are things that everybody can do, no matter the age of your kids or, how often you see them. The first thing that jumped out at me as I was reading through was, you said, I know you're a fan of blah, 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 so I thought I would send you this, right? Like you're acknowledging that they've told you that they're interested in something. And this is a great way to center a message around, I know you're a fan of, I don't know, Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, or some football player, right? It shows that you're acknowledging. So did that come really naturally to you, or were you conscious of connecting on that level?
No, I think it just if I picked up something and it jived with something that they like, I would definitely go in that direction, because I want them to be engaged with and show that, that I'm aware of what they like, and I'm trying to connect with them on something that they like, acknowledging what they like too. So but usually it was like it all would be something that was in my radar. Like all of a sudden I noticed something happening that I thought this is something that they would be interested in, and I would make it a topic for the day. Because remember, there's 5 days a week, right? There's 20 days a month. That's a lot of messages.
Yep. So, and it doesn't for the dads that I'm talking to, there is an appropriate rhythm, right? It might not be appropriate to send a message every day to a child who's getting a really strong conditioning that they are not supposed to, receive anything from you. It could be overwhelming for them. It could be too much. So even a text message once a week, but at the same time of day and on the same day. So it's a Monday morning message, or it's a Saturday evening message, or whatever works for you, but that it's coming at the same time every week, that has the same, I talk a lot about the value of like routine and rhythm and reliability in making yourself, it's a way of getting around the back door of what a child may be hearing, the negative things that they're hearing about you, that you go in the back door straight to the limbic system where their emotional centers are, right? Without saying anything, you are doing this drip, 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 regular like clockwork, so that it's not true that you're unreliable, and it's not true that you've gone away and, you know, left them, right? Like they really get a sense that they are going to be opening their phone guaranteed at that time of week when they know that it's coming. So that's number one, to pay attention to what you know that they like. And if you have to follow them on social media, or, you know, find out from other people what they're interested in, you know what they're interested in, you know those things. So you just have to make note of it and be aware when you're out in the world of things that can relate.
Yeah, I think it's a consistency thing. You have to be consistent, right? You have to be very consistent. So it has to be on your radar yourself, even if you have to schedule it. Like
Right.
Google Calendar reminder, like I have to
Yes.
do my post. I do with my kids 5 days a week. Clearly, they're older, you know.
Yeah.
It depends on what the situation is. If you have a certain situation, but me personally, you know, if you know that you can get away with 2 messages a week versus one, or 3 messages a
Yeah.
week won't get picked up, I think more is a little bit better. It's not overwhelming.
For sure.
Not,
It
especially if you keep it short. Yeah, and you just say,
depends on the
"Hi, I
situation.
love you. I'm here, and I think you're great." Da 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 da, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's 2 sentences. It's not gonna overwhelm anybody. Yeah.
Exactly. So number 2 is family history nuggets. Little bits of family history. That is a brilliant way of connecting. So I saw that a couple of times.
Yeah. It's very interesting, the family part. Okay, so we all have our origin story in our families, and you know, I wanted my kids to see me as a human being. Um, it was important to me, and because of the divorce and what I went through, my parents. I mean, there was definitely like divisions with my between even at my father and my mother, and my kids' relationships to their grandparents.
Yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't end, right? You think it should, but it really doesn't. And so what I wanted to do with them was, you know, be accountable. So, and I'm not suggesting this to anybody. I'm just saying what I did. So what I wanted to do with them was have them see me as a human being. And I wanted to, as I was learning and doing coursework and understanding the subconscious better and my origin story, I realized there was a lot of times I reacted inappropriately with them, yelling, screaming, sometimes hitting. That's how I grew up. Okay. And I wanted them to know that I was wrong. Okay. It was not them. They never did anything to elicit a response from me, or yelling or screaming or craziness. It's because of my own background. There was some kind of trigger that triggered me. It was nothing about them, nothing that they did. And I really wanted them to understand that. I wish that I had somebody who had, you know, explained this to me, or when I was younger, gave me those feelings that I was going to be fine and everything was, I'm wonderful. I never had that. So I wanted to show them that, yeah, I and own it. I've done things that aren't right by you. And I don't blame anybody. You know, my father had his origin story, which was terrible. My mother had an origin story that wasn't great. And that you don't blame people, but you understand, you know, where it comes from. So what happened was, is my kids really saw me as a human being, and they understood, like, they that I opened up enough because I want them to trust me. You know, we grew up in, I know, my generation, it was like our parents, you trusted them, you loved them, you respected them, you did not question them back, you did not, like, what they said went. And I wanted it to be like, okay, you want me to trust, I want you to trust me. I have to show you why you should trust me. You want to love me. I have to love you. I want your respect. I have to show you what respect is. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what I was trying to achieve, especially in the family and love
Yeah.
side, you know, and
Awesome.
show them all these things, that it's not about me telling you where it's at and me
Yeah.
telling you what it should be. It's about us doing it together. Let me be clear. They're not my best friends. We're not best friends. And my sons aren't, mommy, I love you, mommy, mommy, mommy. It's not like that. But I just wanted some kind of honesty, especially with older kids, where
Yeah.
you can acknowledge, you can be real with them,
Yeah.
because you have to be, because they
Yeah.
know they're not, listen, even in the worst situation that's going on in a household, with whatever you think about the kids being brainwashed, they know at a certain inside, you start, as you get older, you start saying, wait a second. So don't ever give up is what I say.
Yeah. Wonderful. Um, I know that, well, the third thing that I wrote is that you really do say, I love you. And you also say, I love this about you, right? Like you find something to say, I love this about you. I love your sense of humor. I love your smile. I love how, how good you are with your pets, whatever it might be, finding something to say, I love that about you. I love how you la la la. So that it's, again, you're showing that you're seeing them and you're valuing something about them. Because in the work that I do with archetypes, value and expression are the same. They're in the same energy. It's the same domain, right? So expressing what you value is there's a lot of integrity in that. It resonates with integrity.
Well, it's really interesting because so much of our lives we're told what we're not good at, right?
Yeah.
We're told what we need to do better with. What we need more work on. What especially in school. you
Yeah.
know, um, so I wanted to tell them what they're great at, what I love about them, because that just is good for your soul. It's
Yeah.
you're because most people are used to hearing how they've disappointed somebody. I mean, when they're growing up, especially when they do something that's
Yeah.
not right or what have you, and that stays with them more than all the good stuff for some reason.
Yeah.
So it's nice to acknowledge that. Listen, I wanted them to understand that it's not just like a here and now thing, because I know there's been past lifetimes. That's what I believe. And I'm like, I've loved you no matter what lifetime I've been in.
Yeah.
It goes
Wonderful.
across the galaxies. And, they know that it's unconditional. Because I think a lot of times I acted very conditional with them because that's how I was brought up. And I
Yeah.
wanted them to understand that it was never conditional. It's unconditional, my feelings for them. It'll never change. I love them. That's it.
Oh, that's great. Number 4 is that you would use as a topic of your message something that you are doing today. Like that's a thing. You can bring them into your world by saying, like, I'm sitting at a restaurant right now, whatever, or I'm walking by the river, or this morning I went for a bike ride and whatever, right? To bring them into your world a little bit. And it's okay to talk about yourself in the present tense of what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like sharing what I'm doing
Yeah.
because, I just like I'm human. Like I said, I do stuff, but I was hoping that as I'm doing things and I'm noticing this and I'm noticing that, to be present.
Yeah.
That I want them also to start thinking in terms of, be present, whatever you're doing right now, notice what's around you. Like
Yeah.
walking down the street, I was like, oh my gosh, we've been living in this neighborhood for 28 years. And I just noticed
Yeah.
because I'm being present and I want them to start thinking more present. We're always so worried about what the future's going to bring and what happened last
Yeah.
week and da da da. But like, just notice around, like, go outside, have a great time, do your thing, but like notice where you are and enjoy it and notice
Yeah.
the things that are happening around you. Be present.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is me when you're not seeing me. Like
Yeah,
I'm a person in the world, even when you're not looking at me, I'm still here
I have a
doing
life.
things. I have a life. Totally.
Yeah.
Another thing that I loved is, well, all the quotes are incredible, but the places that they come from are so varied. So, like movie quotes is a great way to, it's a really low, what am I trying to say? Um, it's a high value with a low cost involved to bring in movie quotes, right? It lets you say something meaningful or funny without having to generate it yourself. And that it brings them, if it's a movie they've seen, of course, it brings them right into a whole emotional landscape where they understand the context of what you're saying beneath the words, right? It's so much value for so few words. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I when I used to like the best times were going with my kids to movies or watching movies with them. That was like great memories. And I love movies, so do my kids. I mean, all the quotes in the book are just either something I read, something I saw somewhere on the street, a quote like out of nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
wow, look at that build, look at that quote. Where was that quote? Why didn't I ever see that? That's amazing. Yeah, and so wherever I could get material from, but the biggest thing was citing everything correctly. That was
Yeah.
hardest. Thank God I didn't have to do it, but it was definitely very
Yeah.
interesting
That
process.
must have been a big piece of work long
Yeah.
after you had written it to track down all those quotes and make sure that you knew where they
Well,
came from.
you have to attribute them correctly. And what was really interesting to me is how many quotes we attribute to somebody, like especially on social media. They're like, some celebrity said this quote, and they're like, the celebrity's a genius. And then the editors who are actually tracking, and this is what they
Yeah.
do, they're like, that celebrity never
Yeah.
said that.
That was Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, and they're just passing it off, kind of not saying, like, not doing the right thing and being actually attributing it. So we
Yeah.
were very particular about attributing because I
Great.
didn't want to have any issues legally, but also I want the right credit to go to the right person.
The next thing, number 6, was saying, like, I loved seeing you yesterday, or always like following up on when you've seen them to use that in a text message and reflect on a visit that you'd had in person, or potentially like loved being at your baseball game yesterday, even though it didn't go the way you wanted, or whatever it might be, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like just acknowledging our time together, I think is important. Or getting ready, going on a family vacation, like what that means to me. You see, when I'm on a family vacation, I don't send messages because I'm with them. We're with
Yeah.
each other constantly. But my older 2 sons don't live at home, so they live downtown. So we don't always get together. Before you know it, it's the week. So that's one of the reasons that the whole messaging thing really matters to me, because nobody's calling on the phone and having conversation.
Right.
Nobody's saying, oh, let's talk.
Yeah.
They're my sons. Guys don't want to have a conversation necessarily.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want to talk. So I at least know if I can't see them, and it's likelihood is we don't get together. They're working. I'm busy, and we try to meet for dinner once a week. They'll come over on a Friday night for dinner if they're in town. So it's important, the message, and also acknowledging the rare, amazing in-person moments we have together, because we don't have enough. I remember growing up, families seemed to spend time together, probably because the only time you could really get together talk to each other was in the same room. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that stuff. You had to be on a landline if you want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So people were together. They made the point of being together. Now it's different. People just don't make the time to be together.
Yeah.
So I like to acknowledge.
So in the context of the dads that I work with, that when the times together are either spread apart or not so frequent or whatever, making reference to what you just did together in a text message kind of prolongs the feeling of being together. It has that energetic added bonus of really prolonging that visit into the next day or into 2 days later, or however you do it, right? It's a reminder, like, remember, I just saw you and that feeling was really great. And it's like whoosh, I'm right back in that moment where I'm with my dad.
And also what's beautiful is, if you think about it, like from the parent point, like the kids saying, wow, this meant something to my father being with me. They had such a good time that, like, they're talking about it because it mattered. Maybe I want to spend more time with my dad because he cares. He loves being with me. Like, maybe there's something not right going on here that I'm not allowed to see him, because clearly wants to see me and loved every minute of it, and it made him happy, and he's talking about it. Like, he wants to see how important it was to him. So I think it's definitely a good thing to do.
All of the so number 7 was things that you are doing in your life that are out of your comfort zone or at your growth edge, or that present a big challenge to you. I know at one point you talked about doing a water fast and how challenging that was and why it was important to you. But showing yourself in a context of doing something that is a stretch for you.
Mhm.
So whether for a dad, it might be, a building project that you're involved in, or getting ready for a marathon, or, learning how to do ice bath immersion, or whatever it might be. But like talking about yourself as somebody who is facing a challenge and how you're addressing that.
Well, I wanted to let them know that challenges are part of life and we can take them on and we shouldn't be afraid of challenge. I actually talk a lot about that, challenges and the learning that you get from a challenge and what you gain from a challenge. And I also have a lot to say about failure, that I want them to understand that whatever you're going to do, and if it doesn't work out, the failure is not a bad thing. That word got a terrible name because you learn from it. You
Yeah.
learn what to do next time. And God, I believe heavily in God. I'm a big, lover of God. And I'm just like, God gives you tests that you can pass. You're gonna have challenges because you have to learn. It's part of the road. You're gonna go through things and it's gonna take you closer to where you need to go because you're
Yeah.
gonna make the right decisions after that. So we all have to go through challenges. And I wanted to share that. I don't want to be all talk and tell them like about you have to go through challenge. So I've taken on some challenges and some things, like even stepping out of my comfort zone and saying, okay, I'm going to do all this personal work because it's easier not to do it, right? It's
Yeah.
easier not to. It's easier to stay unhappy. Um, I founded a women's business network, which was a big undertaking, and that was a challenge for me. Expanding my business was a challenge. Uh, Writing a book, text message to
Yeah.
my sons, was a big challenge. But my kids actually love it. They like watching me do my things, and they're proud. They tell people that they're proud of me. So it's nice. It's a nice thing for us to have.
That's great.
Yeah, sharing those challenges. And I also want them to tell me when they're having a challenge, like not be afraid to say, like, look, I've taken on something, it's challenging. I tell them, look, I can answer, I can give you my answer, but it's up to you. Like at the end of the day, I
Yeah.
trust you to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to always give my advice, but I trust you to make a decision.
Um, I was impressed with the wide range of where you took the quotes that you got. There's like so many big, important ideas and great thinkers throughout history. There are like historical figures, sports greats. Sometimes it's just like about wonders of nature, reflecting. Like I know there were some quotes from the book of Masaru Emoto about
Yeah.
water, the shape of
But
water. Like a wide range. It's like over time, it's like a complete introduction to the majesty of the world in front of us and where we can get inspiration.
yeah, there's a lot out there. You know what? I always say to my kids, hey, whatever you think is coming out now, it's just it's like a regurgitation of the wheel with
Yeah,
a little spin on it.
yeah,
Go back. There's so many great thinkers. There's so many people who lived years ago,
yeah,
hundreds of years ago, who have so much to contribute. I said, what the beauty of it is that everything is out there in a book.
yeah,
What took somebody 30 years to figure out, you can read and have access to in a book. And you can get it way quicker than it took them 30 years to
exactly.
figure out. They're
Exactly.
sharing knowledge with you. You be crazy to not take that in.
This is time
Because,
collapse. This is
yeah,
time collapse. You don't have to recreate the wheel about every single thing, right? You can reach into the past, sometimes way into the past, and
right.
learn something that will catapult you 20 years ahead.
And
And
I wanted them to be
why
like
not?
comfortable in that. I was, look, at my age, right? At my age, I'm trying to develop. I'm reading things that I'm not in school anymore. I'm choosing to do it. So they're like, you know what? I say to them, never stop growing, never stop learning, because once you do, you're stuck. You have to keep doing it. If I can do it, if I can go
Yeah,
back and take courses and learn and read and go through this, you can do it. You need to do this. And it's not like I'm telling them they have to. I'm showing them that I'm doing it and they're saying, wow, she's doing it. I'm going to do it. I can do this. If if she's for sure, because I'm at that age where you think I don't have to, right? But no, we always have to learn. You're never at the most brilliant. You're always learning because there's always something out there that's important to know or learn as far as I'm concerned.
Number 9 was alternating short messages with longer ones. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, even if you're messaging, like I said at the beginning, if you start with a single emoji and you can drop a single emoji day after day after day, and then there's one that's 50 emojis long, right? And it keeps you engaged because of the different the size of the container somehow changes, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to now write a diatribe about something or whatever. You could tell a whole long joke instead of just writing 3 words, or whatever it might be, but you can expand the size of the number of characters, quite literally, in the message, and that there is some value to that in terms of keeping them engaged. They do really like the routine and the to be able to anticipate the sameness of it in the what's the word I'm looking for? Like how consistent it is, but the surprise element, or the the little bit of, not shock, because you don't shock them, but it takes them out of the rhythm so that they can appreciate the rhythm again.
Well, my kids think my messages are all too long. Even my husband teases me. He's like, "You're the only person I know because I had a 3-page text. Like it's incredible. Because it's incredible." But I kept mine very consistent. I have 3 sons. They're older, so everything starts off with "Good morning, sunshine," or "Good afternoon, sunshine," depending on when the text is going. And the only that emoji is the sunshine.
Yeah.
And it's good because for some reason, the song was running through my mind. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine."
Yeah.
Like, make me happy. Sometimes a song goes through your head and you just like say, okay, that's it. That's what I want to. And I even explained it in one of the texts, like how I came up with "Good morning, good afternoon, sunshine." And I put the words to the song to them because I want them to know, you are my sunshine. And so it's "Good morning, sunshine." I write the text, and when I'm at the end is where I signature off with my love for them.
Yeah.
And that's where I put heart emojis. Because with boys, if you overwhelm too much with emojis, they're like, you know what I mean? It's sometimes with girls, because you can go to girls or boys, believe me, it doesn't have to just be sons or anybody you love. You can put in different emojis, and it depends on your relationship and your kid. But with me, I kept it I didn't want to be too overwhelming with emojis, so I wanted them to read the text. And so I did it that way. But yeah, you can find your rhythm and you can find what works. There are shorter texts in the book, and of course there are the longer texts. Listen, when I sent the text to the editor and we started going through the text and assigning them to chapters, I never thought I was going to have a book that was over 200 pages. I thought it was going to be like a little thin guidebook.
Yeah.
And it's written entirely in text message format. People, I'm telling you, Tracy, people love the book. It's easy for them to read. It's easy for them to go from chapter to chapter. They want to read about mindset and gratitude. They want to read about discipline and determination. They want to read about leadership. They want to read about love and family. These messages, they go right there. It's not a whole thing where you have to go chapter to chapter, because if you miss a chapter, you're going to miss everything. They love it. It's quick. It's easy. So go through it. You could take a sentence out of a text if you want. It's there for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just spoke about that. You can start before you start getting comfortable doing it on your own. You could take what's there and not proprietary about it. Just if you're going to use a quote, make sure you attribute it to the right person, like I had to do. That's all you have to do when you text. And your kids will like that you're actually bringing quotes from visionaries and other people. It shows that you're really putting effort into this, that you really want to share some knowledge with them as well.
Well, this brings me to my last point, number 10, which is that this is a brilliant way of delivering life advice, because it is coming from someone else, ostensibly, that you're sharing a quote of somebody who gave a great piece of life advice, And then you either leave it the way it is. Sometimes it's just enough to drop a quote from somebody else, or you're adding a few words about, like, I love this quote because, or I thought of you when I read this because, or, I hope this inspires you to do whatever, that you are reinforcing your life advice with some great thinker or famous person, so that you know what it's like. Kids often need to hear it from somewhere else than you
Oh,
in
yeah.
order to tweak, to wake up, right? So your format is just brilliant in terms of transmitting your life advice through the words of somebody else so that it lands, because what you want is for it to land. You want it to impact your child and change the hopefully the course of their life in some way. And so then we do whatever we have to do to get that job done.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. A lot of times I remember with my kids, like, especially with my sons, I'll be like, David, can you tell this to Aaron? Or Aaron, will you tell this to David? Because I know he'll listen to you. Or Josh will listen to David, like, not me. You know what I mean? Like, because they'll sometimes with guys, especially, they'll be like, they'll tune me out. Like, my
Yeah.
guys, I see them, they'll go a little glassy on me when we're together. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, what's really cool is that in certain cases, the kids have been like that. They really like those quotes. I'll buy them the book. Like, I bought them several books: Atomic Habits, Hero Manifesto, Think and Grow Rich, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highlight. I
Yeah,
mean, I've just like bought them books
exactly. It's like an
as
entryway
gifts.
into those great thinkers. And
Yeah, Jay Shetty. I was really
yeah,
into that Think Like a Monk. I mean, it's funny, but now that you're talking about it, yeah, it led to setting books of information, and they're like, this is great, and they keep it and they read it, or they'll reference it or something.
yeah,
So it does have an impact. And I think when you're taking the time to share this quote, and also how it affects you. Like, I read this and, oh wow, it affected me. Like, I want to share that this really affected me and it made me
yeah,
think differently. So they're saying like, wow, my mom can learn, and my mom can be honest and say it had an impact, and I never thought that way before. And what do you think? Because I want them to tell me what they think at the
yeah,
end of the day. I want them to say, wow, you saw it that way. Well, I actually saw it this way. It's a conversation.
yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is connect deeper and have more conversations with them. That's my goal.
Well, it's fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for putting in, for the having the idea and for doing all the work to bring it forth, and all the editing and getting it published. And surely there was a big investment involved on your part in doing that. So I thank you for doing that, for for sharing this beautiful work out in the world. And honestly, there is a huge secondary, not purpose, but a benefit of this book, which is that it's going to change your life. Whoever reads this book from cover to cover, you're not the same person at the end. You've been so touched by all of these incredible, um, like, choice quotes from all these incredible thinkers, that it just opens you up, and it's such an expansive experience to read this. So um, thank you once again. Thank you for being here. And we'll continue this conversation for sure.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. It's been an honor and a pleasure being on, and I love the work that you're doing with the dads. Keep it up.
Thank you. Just tell people, where can they connect with you? Or certainly they can buy the book on Amazon. Is there somewhere else that they should be looking for it?
Actually, it's on Amazon. I think it's on Goodreads. It's on Goodreads too. It's on ISU, ISSU. God willing, it'll get onto other platforms at some point too. That's what we're working on. And but Amazon is the best place to go
Okay,
for it.
great.
And if anybody wants to contact me, you can contact me at text messages to my sons on Instagram and on Facebook. I also have a website that you can contact me on, www.t as in Tom, C as in cat, brand, BRAND consulting.com. Text messages to my sons is on that website too. So yeah, there's multiple ways to reach me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.